Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Snipe, Celly. We are brought to you by Noop Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network. My name is Dan Bradley, and alongside me tonight, any second now, as soon as he is, oh, there we go, there's timing. This kid is mid burger bite, just got in the door with the food, but he's ready to go and talk some hockey. Joel Fernino. Joel, how you doing tonight, my friend? Better now that you got the burger, clearly.
Better now that I got the best fast food burger in the city of Chicago. I am very good.
I have to ask, are you willing to name drop which company that is, or for the sake of sponsorship, would we not name drop? You said the best fast food burger in Chicago.
Yeah. Why? I mean, I would absolutely love to drop their name.
For those of us who are uninformed, uninitiated, what company might this be?
Small Cheval.
Small Cheval. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but
so
in Chicago, quite a bit.
Yeah. So it's there is a regular burger restaurant called AU Cheval. It's a regular restaurant, and then they expanded at one point in time in history and created a chain of fast food versions of their burger, which I've been told are just as good.
Yeah. The only thing throwing me here is au cheval would be the horse in French. So is it a horse burger?
I mean, if it's horse, I guess I like horse meat.
Well, that took a much weirder turn than I was expecting. Let's rein it back. What kind of burger did you get? What toppings you throw on there? So we just did tortellini tonight, so I'm looking at your burger going, wow, that looks good too.
That is good stuff.
Wild Talk is here, says, hey boys.
What's up?
How you doing, Wild Talk?
I got what I get on there. Pickles, onions, and then cheese. It's a double burger. And fries, of course. No sauce, because I am one who thinks, oh man, here's my first toasty take of the night.
Oh boy, here we go.
Mayo ruins almost everything.
On its own, yeah. I can agree with that.
Now,
I think if you're mixing it together to make sauces, also if you're making your own mayonnaise, if you're doing something like that, that's entirely different. But putting just mayo on a sandwich or something like that, for me, that kills it.
I mean, it depends. Jimmy John's, I'm fine with putting mayo on those sandwiches.
I can't do that. Not there. Not yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. There we go. We got an agreement. We're not wrong.
All right. I guess it's not as hot of a take as I thought. I really thought it would be a hot take.
I mean, it might be in a lot of circles, but at least with those of us who are on the show and commenting on the show so far, it seems to be the take. Joel, we have, for the second week in a row, a big trade involving the St. Louis Blues ahead of Snipe Celly. And this is the St. Louis Blues sending Ryan O'Reilly at 50% retained to Minnesota. They then retained another 25% before completing the deal and sending him through to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yes, sir.
Blues also sent Noel Acciari as part of the deal. The Blues get Adam Gaudette, Mikhail Abramov, a 2023 first and a third rounder, the third coming from Ottawa, and a 2023 second. The Wild get a fourth round pick in 2025 for helping to complete the deal. I just realized that's a typo. Hang on.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
That should be 2024 second round pick. Let's try that again.
We are in the year 2023, crazily enough.
Right? It always reminds me of the John Mulaney bit. 2029, that's not a real year.
Oh, God. It might be.
In 2029, we're all going to be drinking moon juice with President Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Who?
Young kid.
What? You're 2 years older than me. You're 2 years older than me.
You don't know JTT?
No.
Well, that's a big time you problem, man. He was on Home Improvement. He was in he's in Lion King. All sorts. I know you'd recognize him if you saw him. I know you would.
All right, that's fair.
But either way,
back to your the trade announcement. Yeah, I mean, you're a Wild fan, and I think we'll get to you'll have a bigger reaction to this. My reaction to get out of the way is, hell yeah, the rebuild for St. Louis is on, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna rebuild, you're rebuilding with us, damn it. The Noah Chari part is actually pretty big. Like I think that pretty underrated get for the Leafs.
Well, and again, this is the second time that with a Blues trade where we've said, the real key piece of this deal might not be the headliner.
No,
we talked about Nico Mikkola being
right.
the thrown-in piece to the Rangers and the Tarasenko deal.
Mm-hmm.
Achari's a good get for Toronto too.
Yeah, he was sneaky good for St. Louis for a while. He just kind of fell under the radar, obviously, because of Jordan Kyrou, obviously. So he kind of fell under the radar. Yeah, I mean, for the Maple Leafs, I think this is awesome. I mean, they're clearly all in, and I think that this year more than probably the last few. This to me shows like, all right, we are all in. Like, we're ready to go. Ryan O'Reilly is amazing. I love Ryan O'Reilly. I'm happy that I can be a fan of him not on my most hated team now. So that's pretty cool. He's a huge boost to your team. He had some grit too. He adds a lot of net front presence. That's probably his best scoring game. And obviously the face-off dot. I mean, he's probably, I would argue, top 3, top 5 face-off men in the league.
Yeah. And you look at what that means for the center depth as a whole for Toronto, where your top 3 forwards now, pick whatever order you want to roll them out in, of when everybody's healthy, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, and Ryan O'Reilly.
That's insane.
You put that up against anybody, those are the best 3 centers, 1, 2, 3, listing like that. I think of any team in the league, I would be hard-pressed to find one that we could argue is that deep.
Totally. And you're going to tell me that Ryan O'Reilly is going to be your third-line center on whatever team you're placing him on? Oh, you must be deep.
No, I mean, normally you see that kind of depth, and it's like, oh, that's Canada's Olympic roster that has that kind of center depth. Like, no, this is actually the Toronto Maple Leafs having that kind of center depth.
Now, will they? Before I get to the rest of the trade, especially your end of it, because obviously you were involved, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. Does this move finally push the Maple Leafs over the edge and get a first round playoffs win?
I knew you were going to ask this question, and I was dreading it.
Kind of asking myself at the same time, but I get more time to think about it because I'm asking you.
It has to, right? Like, if this isn't it, like, do we just yeet the Maple Leafs out of existence? Like, they have to win a first-round series now. You can't pony up what they did, make that big of a move to go all in, and still not get there. Like, yes, you're probably playing Tampa Bay again in the first round. Thank God you don't have to play Boston in the first round, but you have to play them in the second if you beat Tampa Bay. So Boston is a wagon. You got to have the arms to keep up. And it's almost like they've just decided, you know what, we're not going to beat Tampa Bay, and we're not going to beat Boston by playing shutdown defense and winning a 2-1, a 3-2 type hockey game. It is we need to go score 5 goals every night. What gives us the best chance to do it?
Right.
You look at what this can do for your power play as well. Looking at the special teams across the NHL this year, Toronto's power play is 4th at 25.4. They're already good. But then you throw in somebody in there as well who you can play in any situation. He will make your penalty kill better. He will make your power play better. He allows you to potentially double dip so that you've got Tavares and Matthews on the same power play, or Tavares and O'Reilly on the same power play. However you want to set those lines, that's a big deal. Looking at what this meant for the Wild, like we talked last week about how how I felt that Ryan O'Reilly was like a perfect fit for the Wild. And my thought was there's absolutely no way that they're going to be able to get O'Reilly and make it work. And for all of 10 minutes, yes, the Minnesota Wild finally had the first line center that they have lacked for the entirety of their franchise's existence in Ryan O'Reilly. And when I saw that the Wild were in on the O'Reilly trade, I was like, holy crap, he's coming here. Like, what? But then to turn around and find out that, oh, that was only, it was for all of 10 minutes to retain some salary and get a 4th round pick out of the deal. Grand scheme of things, it will cost them less than $100,000, which is like, I mean, it's chump change in the grand scheme of the deal. And beyond that, like, I mean, you're basically getting a 4th round pick for next to nothing. That money goes away if you don't use it. So it's really not a big deal for them to retain any of the cap hit or the actual dollars paid either way.
Yeah.
That said, though, I mean, shoot, I was hoping that they could find a way to hang on and keep O'Reilly there. They couldn't, the Blues weren't going to trade him in division. I knew that. The Wild weren't going to pony up the assets to get him. I knew that. But to see Toronto just kind of swoop in and end up with him anyway, it was a big surprise to me. I did not have O'Reilly to Toronto remotely in the cards. I thought if they were going anywhere, they were going to be in on somebody like Jacob Chikrin. I thought they were going to be in on somebody who could help them out on the back end or push their goaltending, which has been better, but is still, I feel like Toronto is still looking for an answer between the pipes.
Well,
long term. And like Samsonov has been decent when he's been in. He's been pretty good. But he hasn't been, the kind of blow you away goaltender that, for example, Linus Ullmark, where when we saw Buffalo was moving on from him and he was going to Boston and actually getting to play in a system that had consistent, solid defensive structure, we knew Ullmark's numbers were going to take off, and they did. Joey is telling you, come on over. We got HelloFresh on the menu.
Joey's been sending me all his HelloFresh recipes. That look fire. Joey is not only a friend of the show, but he's a hell of a damn good cook, too.
Well, it sounds good. Joey, you got room for 2 more, and I'll figure out how to get there, and we'll do that.
He would take you any day, Dan.
he probably would. He's a good guy.
I'm with you, though. Again, all this interdivision, like, weird moves that don't involve my team right now, I'm enjoying. I mean, I saw when it first came through, I had to kind of like take it back a little bit because I was like, what? So did the Wild just get Ryan O'Reilly? And then I'm like, oh, no, wait. And then, like, reading through it, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Out of all of this, and I know you just explained this, but just from the funnier level, out of all this craziness and all these big name players and depth players and 1st round picks and 3rd round picks and 2nd round picks next year, you guys got a 4th round pick out of it?
It better than nothing.
I guess.
Because again,
why
you could,
though? Why did you need to be involved?
I don't know. Like, it's still weird to me because it's like, in a way, you're helping out St. Louis. In a way, you're helping out Toronto, which, maybe that helps down the line for future trade negotiations. It's, hey, remember when we retained 25% of Ryan O'Reilly's salary so that you could get out of the 1st round this year? Well,
not to mention, you guys have salary cap issues already. I mean, I know that ends this year.
Yes, but that's more long term. So the way that it works is the salary cap dollars that they have, the Wild have, even after the O'Reilly retention, they still have about $10 million in deadline cap space. Which again, that applies to just this season.
Right.
And that space goes away if you don't use it. So what the Wild did here was basically just act as a banker to help hold some of that cap hit But the actual dollars they're going to pay out, I said this while you were microwaving your burger.
What do you mean? I was here the whole time.
Is that it was only, it was less than $100,000 of actual money that they're paying to get a 4th-round pick. And when you have
so in
somebody
hindsight,
like
you bought a 4th-round pick for
more or less, yeah, for less than 100,000, which you really like, that's hard to beat.
Right.
And Wild Talk here brings up a good point. If not the Wild, someone else will do it. So why not get value for a 4th-round pick? Exactly, because you look at how Judd Brackett has completely overhauled the Wild's prospect pipeline, the draft picks that he has already shown that he has hit on.
Right.
I am willing to throw as much draft capital at that man as he wants to use and just let him go to work. Because I know he's going to find value wherever he can get it. So if I'm just adding ammo to Judd Brackett's arsenal, that's good by me. And I have no doubt that those picks are going to hit. We've already seen it. We saw it in Vancouver. We saw it now in Minnesota. It's all good there. I think the Maple Leafs win this trade unless they somehow still don't get out of the 1st round. That's the only way I'm willing to say Toronto loses this trade, because just looking at it, it's like this is a pretty big win here.
The funny thing is, too, I think any other team that makes this trade, you say loses this trade if they don't make it to the conference final. But it's Toronto, so
yeah,
you have that curse going on, or curse, so to speak, going on, where it's like, is this trade a failure if we can't even win 1 round? Which then it's like, how does a fan base feel about it too? Where it's like, are we really just settling for that? Like that minimum with this stacked roster?
I think back to the Washington Capitals when they went on their Stanley Cup run a couple years ago, and for years for them it was can't get past the 2nd round of the playoffs or can't get past the Penguins. As soon as they did that and beat the Penguins in the 2nd round, it was like, okay, they're going all the way this year. Like, just, the writing on the wall is there. This is now, it's happening. Toronto has that position this year where if they get past the 1st round, it's all of a sudden, whoa, we're here. We're in the 2nd round. We did it.
Oh my God.
We can play without, you loosen up the grip on the stick so you're not white knuckling every time you take a shot, or, everything is more relaxed and more comfortable at that point. And when the Maple Leafs are able to relax and play their brand of hockey, they're a very, very tough team to beat.
Oh, yeah.
I think O'Reilly gives them the ability to do that, and also to be a little more creative with how they structure some things. I think the biggest help, honestly, is probably on the penalty kill, which already is decent at 81.0%. That's tied for 11th in the league. But again, you're going up against Boston, who is first at 86.5. You got to have somebody who can get it done offensively to break through that kill. You got to get through somebody who can stop Boston's power play, which is at 23.8%. It's Boston's cup to lose. So Toronto beats them. They're playing with house money. Yeah.
And for the record, we just figured out the equation to the answer to the equation to beating the Maple Leafs. It's Patrick Kane putting up a hat trick against them.
Yeah, I mean, how is it that when we pick the Blackhawks on Wednesday night picks at +1.5, they just lose in embarrassing fashion? But then a couple of days later, when it doesn't count for us to make those picks, they go out and beat the Maple Leafs by 2. Like, make it make sense.
I can't, but the thing is I picked, we both agreed on that. I only did it for fun. I knew deep down I was going to be wrong.
I was kind of just like, this is a classic Maple Leafs Wednesday night pick type of game where they're like +280 on the money line, or excuse me, I should say -280 on the money line. Ridiculous favorites there. And when they're that lopsided, it's like, well, the +1.5 just on the chance. But no, that didn't work.
You know, it happens. It's funny, but yeah, no, this was I agree with you. I think to put a bow on it, like this was not a trade I saw coming still this far away from the deadline. And don't get me wrong, we're very close to the deadline, but this one, this is something I would have believed more so like the day before or on deadline day.
We got a couple of Hawks comments here. One is that Kane still looks like his hip is cooked.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Well, you can shoot that well, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. He's heating up now, and I mean, according to him, he's feeling better each day. But that's also just player speak for like, yeah, there's something there, but I'm not gonna, let that inhibit me, or at least I'm not gonna let you think it's inhibiting me.
And the other one is somebody tell the Hawks Bedard is at stake. Don't ruin this for me. Yeah, Hawks are playing better as of late. 2-game winning streak, if you want to call it that. 2's a streak. 4-5-1 over their last 10 games. And if the lottery draft were today, they would have the third best odds, which means potentially if, say, Arizona, who is at 6th, and Vancouver, who is at 5th, were the teams that jumped up, the Hawks could end up taking 5th overall.
That's no bueno. We don't want that. We will not settle for anything less than Fantilli.
I mean, if you can get Matvei Michkov, like
you're sneezing again.
This kid. Learn how to pronounce your prospects' names.
I
shouldn't even say your prospects. They're not your prospects. I should say draft prospects.
Yeah, that's
the names of the prospects.
As a Blackhawks fan, I only speak of Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli. There is no other option.
So what you're telling me is that with Michkov, you've got no Russian on your board? Remember?
Wow. You got some Modern Warfare 2 references going on here.
Yeah,
I like it.
How about that?
And I mean, speaking of the Hawks, that's probably a good segue into their most recent news.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Taves will be out indefinitely.
Yep, we're going to talk about that first, but I want to go back to Wild Talk's point here. Michkov better than Fantilli. I kind of agree. I mean, if it weren't for the
hold on,
just hang on.
The toasty takes to me,
hang
man.
Hang on. Pump your brakes. Slow your roll.
I'll eat my fries. Go ahead.
Because of Michkov's situation with playing in Russia, he is going to slide down draft boards because he will not be able to get here as quickly as Fantilli when it comes to making the NHL impact. Mm-hmm. That said, I agree Michkov has the higher ceiling than Fantilli. I think he might be the better overall player than Fantilli. I think if Michkov were already playing in the States, that he would, without a doubt, be the number 2 overall pick. Mm-hmm. And could be a consolation prize for whoever ends up picking 3rd. I was listening to our buddy Spoke Z talking about Michkov over on Judd's Buds, I think is what he was on when he was talking there. That Michkov, like if Michkov falls any lower than 6th, every GM that picked between 3 and wherever he goes should be fired. That was Spoke Z's take. And I trust Spoke Z on draft prospects more than about anybody else in the world. Like he watches more draft prospects than pretty much anybody out there.
Than Elliot Friedman.
He might be right up there with Friedman, with Corey Pronman, with Scott Wheeler. I mean, Z just watches everything. Like if it happens to a prospect involving a prospect, Z knows about it.
All right. Well, that's noted for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do have a history of picking up good Russian players.
By the way, anybody listening who is not subscribed to Judd's Buds, go check them out. Especially, I mean, whenever Spoke-Z is on, it's must listen content. Yeah, go check him out. Yeah, Michkov is on the worst team in the KHL and is still putting up great numbers. Yeah, by a pretty large margin.
I mean, we pulled Panarin from the KHL, and that was a free agent signing. So
I'm going to get into some of the other teams around the league here and what they might do at the trade deadline.
Ignoring my taste.
Okay, you know what? I didn't even have a note for it, so I will make one quick. Go ahead and talk Jonathan Taves.
Well, so as most Hawks fans know, hell, as most of the league knows, so Blackhawks are shutting down Jonathan Taves indefinitely. He's getting placed on long-term IR. Unfortunately, his chronic immune response syndrome. Yeah, SIRS. There we go. Though those symptoms are back combined, according to Taves himself, with long COVID symptoms as well. So as if the SIRS, the immune response syndrome wasn't enough, long COVID is playing a hand in here too. So he's been out now for the last, I think it was 9 games. I think that Maple Leafs game the other night made it 10 games. So yeah, he actually released a full statement. Pat Boyle shared it back on the 19th, so 2 days ago. So from Taves, first of all, thank you to the fans and all those who have shown concern about my absence. I'm still dealing with the symptoms of long COVID and chronic immune response syndrome. It has been really challenging to play through these symptoms in the last few weeks. It has reached the point where I had no choice but to step back and concentrate on getting healthy. Absolutely. I'm thankful for the patience and support of my teammates, the coaching staff, and the entire Blackhawks organization. So, I mean, it's the smart move, but then the organization too, Kyle Davidson reported that, confirmed, Taves will not be moved at the deadline, which is the right move for, the team, but also just Jonathan Taves too. That's a big solid they're doing for him.
Yeah, for one,
you can't really move him either.
You can't
also,
really move him when
the
he's
business side, right?
On, you can technically move him if he's on LTIR, which again, if he is out for the rest of the regular season, and all of a sudden, hey, you want to exceed the cap by $10.5 million, not even have Chicago retain any salary, you could do that. It's kind of a scummy move, but
what? Oh,
if a team were to trade for him, keep him on long-term injured reserve.
The whole thing, though, was we don't want that. You're right. Yeah. From the business side of things, that could absolutely work.
Because they technically could. Wild Talk saying get well Taves. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the most important thing to the Blackhawks organization. That's why they came out and flat out were just like, we're not trading him. Even if you want him next season or something, we're not trading him.
Yeah, it's one thing if you're out of the lineup because you got hurt playing the game or something like that.
Yeah,
it's another thing entirely when it's a sickness or something else that's off ice that keeps you out.
I'm starting to think
sucks.
I'm starting to think that's. With his contract up too, I'm starting to think he might be thinking he's got to be thinking about calling it a career.
He's got to be leaning that way. But the thing too is we'll know pretty quick once somebody has made the decision that I'm not playing, even if they decide to kind of give it a shot, they're still so far mentally past it at that point that it's why bother?
Yeah, it hurts to see, but he's not going to get moved and. Yeah, so that's that update. Now let's get on to
let's move to the Washington Capitals. Should they buy, sell, or hold? Capitals are in the middle of a 4-game losing streak. They are down 1-0 to the Detroit Red Wings tonight, playing at home, playing without Alex Ovechkin once again. His father passed away recently, so. Yep. No Ovechkin. He's spending time with family that is much needed. And our condolences to the Ovechkin family. From the Capitals side, they are 2 points out of a playoff spot right now in the Eastern Conference. But that 4-game, if they lose tonight, 5-game losing streak, 3-7-0 in their last 10, kind of headed in the wrong direction here. Do the Capitals need to make a move to try and get back into things? Are they better off kind of just foregoing the rest of this season, maybe moving some pieces around? Joel, what's your take here with the Caps?
I think, what would I do is completely different. What I think they're probably thinking, I think they're going to hold. If for nothing else, for how close the wild card race is in the East right now. So
all you got to do is get there.
Yeah, 60. Washington at 62 points, Pittsburgh at 63, Florida ahead of them at 64, the Islanders ahead of them at 65. So like they're 3 points out of the first wild card spot technically.
Yeah, there's 6 points
so,
between 60 and 65 points
right.
that are all right in that mix.
Exactly. So that to me, with the deadline coming up this quick, next Friday, a week from this Friday, which is nuts to think already. It's going to be March. I don't think that's the right move. Obviously, they're not going to catch Carolina or New Jersey. Hell, arguably, they ain't going to catch the Rangers. I think though that 1, 2, 3 you're seeing in the Metro right now is pretty solidified. Maybe those 1, 2, 3s move around, but
yeah, the order might change, but
that top three exactly. So it's then Washington is just like, okay, well, we got to catch Pittsburgh and the Islanders, which they very much can. Pittsburgh is just as mid as Washington, and obviously the losing streak right now, how much of that caters to, or how much of that weighs on Ovechkin not being there, right? Plays a huge role. He makes a huge difference. So I think they hold.
I wrote a game preview on tonight's Red Wings Caps game for work today. Ovechkin is at 32 goals on the season. The next closest Capitals goal scorer, I'm willing to bet you could not come up with it, and I'm willing to bet you wouldn't come up with a number of where they're at.
What's funny is I haven't even kept up with their roster outside of the usual suspects.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's not one of the usual suspects. So.
There you go. I don't know, Liz. I mean, I can pull up.
If you want a hint, he used to play in Minnesota. He also used to play in Buffalo.
I'm just looking at it. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot Dylan Strome was out there.
Yep, but it's not Dylan Strome either.
No, it's not. It's Marcus Johansson.
Marcus Johansson with 13.
Yep.
That is a pretty precipitous drop off.
And actually, that's why I mentioned Dylan Strome and then Connor Sheary are both right behind him.
Yeah. So it's
John Carlson having a rough season too.
Yeah, he's been in and out of the lineup.
I know he's been in and out of the lineup. Oshie also having a rough season for his standards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Carlson close, it sounds like, to coming back from face injury. Like he took a puck to the face. So coming back from that. I'm looking at the Capitals Cap Friendly page, which again, shout out Cap Friendly. They, like this show, would fall apart without them. The only defenseman that they have under contract for next season is John Carlson.
Yeah.
There are 8 defensemen who are called up on roster right now. Every single one of them is either a restricted or unrestricted free agent following this year.
It's interesting. That's why I feel like if you were asking me this in the year 2024, I would say sell.
Well, I mean, yeah, you do still have. And I'm not saying sell as in
no,
sell
I know.
off
You're
everything.
You're not. Well, Ovechkin's retiring a Capital. There's
for sure. And Ovechkin's under contract for through the end of the 25-26 season.
Right, but if you're a team that's desperate and has the room for that contract, if you're the GM of the Capitals and I come a calling from, I don't know, let's say who could I be calling from? Let's say I'm calling
Seattle
from
Kraken. Arizona Coyotes, who are going to be really good in 2 years.
I was going to say someone who's actually going to make the playoffs this year, like the Kraken or New Jersey, perhaps.
Ooh.
Let's say this is totally hypothetical, but let's say I'm calling you, the GM of the Caps from New Jersey over here. And I'm like, you know what? Your situation ain't looking so hot right now, with all due respect. What if I'm willing to offer up 3 first-round picks, 1 this year or two this year if New Jersey,
I think they just have the 1 this year.
They do have just the 1. So
I'll check and confirm that, but
let me give you my 1 and my 2 this year and my 1 next year, and maybe a prospect or 2 for Ovi. Are you doing it?
Actually, yeah. So yeah, New Jersey, the only pick they don't have over the next 3 years is a 3rd rounder this year. They do not have any additional picks
There you
So
go.
it's just straight
So
their own picks.
So I'm calling, and obviously I don't. This is
Mhm.
simply them loading up to try and just dynasty it for the next 2 or 3 years until Ovi's contract is up. But
Mhm.
first round this year, first round next year, second round this year, and some prospect that we don't have to go too far in and name. Are you taking that?
I'd have to at least think about it, but like,
Right?
man, if you
It's
move Ovi, like you are moving everybody thereafter. Like it's not,
oh well, of
you
course
know,
that
you're
is
you're
that
not you're not
will
remotely trying to keep the window open. You're, picking up the phone and okay, where can I move, Mantha? Where can I move Strom? I just re-signed him, but need to ship him out.
well,
Where
that's the
do I go with
thing.
Orlov? Where do I go with all these guys? Really,
The minute you move, if you the minute you move Ovechkin is the shot heard around the District of Columbia in okay,
mhm.
it's a full scale rebuild now.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think there are a couple of pieces that they could move off.
Kuzi,
They've been trying to move Kuzi for a while. He does have um, a 10-team no trade clause, or a list of 10 teams he can't be traded to. Same with
right?
TJ Oshie. Um, but I would think maybe like, okay, could we try and maybe acquire Anthony Mantha? Could we get Hathaway as a depth piece? Could we get Connor Sherry? Could we get Nick Dowd? Just as some depth pieces along the way, especially if you're getting a guy that's on an expiring deal.
Exactly.
I could see some movement there. Keeping it in the division too, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Should they buy, sell, or hold? Because they are also in a very similar spot. They're 1 point ahead of Washington. They are 1 point behind the Florida Panthers of all teams,
Right.
who are just really going through it this year. They
Did
they
you
won the
answer? Did you
Kachuk
answer
trade,
the
but at
Caps?
what cost? I said sell/hold, maybe
Oh,
leaning slightly to sell, but not sell the farm, but make a couple moves to some hockey trades, if you will, where it's we need such and such depth piece. You're going to give us mid-tier prospect or mid-round pick. They're not in the interest. Well, of course they're in the interest, but um, they're not in the business right now of acquiring first-round picks. Which, by the way, we should mention with the Blues, they now have 3 first-round picks this year.
this year?
In this upcoming draft, they will have 3 first-round picks. So yeah. Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you rather, as a Hawks fan, would you rather have the number 1 overall pick and you're guaranteeing yourself Connor Bedard with that pick, or would you rather have 3 first-round picks knowing one is going to be top 10 and the other 2 are mid to late first round?
Yeah, you're right. I'd rather take first overall.
It still would, but like it's tempting.
It,
If it weren't for how far above everybody that has come out since, I would say, McDavid has been drafted,
I get it.
there is not a prospect that has had as high a
You
ceiling
already
or
have the
as
hot
high of a floor
yeah. You already
since
have the hot
McDavid as
takes.
Bedard.
The hot takes coming out already that he's going to be better than McDavid, and I'm like, you can't really tell that
There's
yet. So you can't really.
You can compare
Am
the
I
film from
denying?
when McDavid was in his draft year and try to compare some of the stylistic aspects of their game.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not ready to make that claim yet because also, holy crap, McDavid is just on an unbelievable pace this year, and just continues to get better.
Yeah. To answer your question though,
But going back to the Penguins here.
it's really funny. So you'd think I would say hold because Caps, same situation. They're only, these like you said, Penguins are only 1 point ahead of the Caps, which then of course means they're only so they're only 2 points behind the Islanders, and then in the wild card race, only 1 point behind Florida. So I still would lean towards hold, but to be different, and because of certain reports out of that front office we had heard before they re-signed Malkin,
Mhm.
there were some tiny little rumors that they were thinking about blowing it up, including Crosby.
If they could not get Malkin extended, I think you have the argument that yes, that's the right thing to do, even though it would not even remotely be popular. That it would be the right thing to do.
I have to think they're sitting there, same as the Caps, really. But the Penguins have more superstardom on their
Yeah,
roster than
they
the
do.
Capitals do. I think they'd have to be sitting there. Both teams really have to be contemplating, like, look where we sit. Yes, we get it; it's close, but you do have to think long term too. You can't simply always just be thinking short term.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean towards hold again. Obviously, I kind of have to. I back myself into the corner, but I do believe it. I think they hold as well because it's still so close. But maybe they sell some lower pieces, right?
Yeah, and I think the big difference between Pittsburgh's situation and Washington's situation is more players who are under contract for next year. I mentioned that there are 8 defensemen for Washington that are on an expiring contract.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh has 1 of the 7 that they have up right now, plus Jan Ruda, who is on long-term injured reserve, but is also under contract through next year. The only one that they don't have under contract next year is Brian Dumoulin, which, looking at some of the younger players in the system, there's a chance that they bring him back. It's a bit of a weird one. They could, but he'll be 31, or he's 31 now, so he'd be 32. He's signing his last deal for wherever he's going to play things out the rest of the way. Maybe you do that. Going back to the Blues for a second here, the Blues aren't using all 3 of those picks at the draft. They're going to use at least 2 of them to retool. That is interesting.
So I would have agreed with Wild Talk here had they not. Obviously, I get it. People are going to be like, well, they wouldn't have 3 firsts if they didn't trade Ryan O'Reilly. I get it. Had they not traded Ryan O'Reilly, I wouldn't have said that they were in a full-scale rebuild. They traded their top 2 players. You are in a rebuild without saying it. So that's on your GM to have the balls to say it.
Right. But also you're going to look at it and go, okay, we need Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou to now take the ring. Like, we are giving them the keys to go drive the Porsche.
And do you really think they can do that? They're great. They're very good players, but can they be cornerstone franchise altering players?
We're going to find out.
Right. Like, Kyrou is very good, but he's not in that realm of like, yeah, he's going to lead our team to the promised land type of thing. Not yet, at least, in my opinion, in my biased opinion.
We got 2 more that we're going to kind of power through here quick, and then we've got Wednesday night picks to get to here as well. Should the Detroit Red Wings buy, sell, or hold?
That says fold.
Detroit. Did I say? Hang on.
I mean,
that's what I get for putting the show together while at work and making dinner. Let's try this again.
If the Detroit Red Wings want to fold as an organization, I'm sure
would absolutely love that.
Well, they're not even in the conference anymore. I don't care. No, I wouldn't. That's an original 6 team, man. I don't want any original 6 teams to fold. That's a bad look. That'd be horrible.
Wild Talk saying the Blues are reportedly in on both Meyer and Chychrun. I haven't heard those reports, but that would certainly shake things up.
So you're saying you're basically replacing, if they could pull off, like, all right, 3 first-round picks, here's 2 of them, and we pull in both Meyer and Chychrun.
There's no way with just those pieces that they could pull both.
Well, then all 3. Because you're using all 3 first-round picks then.
To get either one, I think you would have to use all 3 firsts.
I don't know about that.
Well, because Timo Meier is a restricted free agent. So if you're not going to sign him next season, you offer sheet him, and then you get the draft capital coming back. So because of that, you're going to have to move 3 firsts to do it. As for Chychrun, he's under contract this season plus 2 more at a very team-friendly rate for what he's at.
Yeah.
I think
with how
the
deep
going
of a
rate for
draft,
either one is going to involve multiple first-round picks.
with how
3
deep
is
of
not enough to get both.
Yeah, and with how deep of a draft it is, and you have 3 picks in said draft, I don't. That'd be kind of a stupid move, in my opinion.
I think they're gonna. I think the Blues will use all 3 picks to be their retool and reload, but it's going to be prospects who might be more NHL ready than players in other years picking from those positions.
So back to your Red Wings question.
And Snuggerud is on the table. Jimmy Snuggerud, by the way, if you're not watching Minnesota Gophers hockey, what they have built and what they're doing, Logan Cooley, Matty Nyes, Jimmy Snuggerud, that team is a wagon. Like, Gophers are in good shape. I know you're not a college hockey guy. That's all the more.
No, I know all those names. I know Logan Cooley.
but-
I know Snuggerud.
Yep.
No, yeah. Well, the Gophers are always a damn good hockey team. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You are the state of hockey after all.
We don't have HP tonight. He would be
He'd
jumping all over us talking about the Gophers.
So the Red Wings are very interesting. Like this year, they're supposed to be the Sabres. They are literally supposed to be what the Sabres are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a young team, up and coming. And actually, I guess they really are. They both have the same amount of points. But if you give me both teams right now and ask me which one looks more promising long term, I would tell you the Sabres do. But the Sabres are a year behind Detroit with regard to like getting out of the rebuild. So they're ahead of schedule. Detroit right now, I would say, is behind schedule based on what they've been doing and all the moves and rebuilding. There's been a lot of talk about Dylan Larkin. You know, he's in a contract year, right? And do they?
He and Tyler Bertuzzi both in contract years,
right? So do they trade the captain, or do they lock him up long term? I think, spoiler alert from my end, I think they lock him up long term. If they get rid of him, then okay, you're back to rebuilding again. Like you lost a captain now. Like what are you doing? What the hell are you doing now? What were those miserable years for the last 3-4 years, even 4 at that point? Then right, like you're just giving up on the rebuild when the rebuild isn't even over yet and it's starting to look promising. I mean, I don't really know how they buy. Really, I mean, maybe they buy a depth guy, but I think they probably just hold.
Red Wings are last year's Sabres. Kind of. Pretty loaded prospect pool, guys who are on the brink of taking that next step. I like the way that Detroit is building their farm system up. I think Detroit fans are getting a little antsy about things. Haven't made the playoffs since the 2015-16 season. And for a team that had a very long streak of consecutive playoff seasons before that, not making the playoffs this year is going to be it'll be tough for Red Wings fans to once again not get over the hump. I think you're seeing a lot of the signs that the team is moving in the right direction there. I think as opposed to the other teams, this one I might lean a little bit more towards buy if they can get somebody who is not just for this year, but for the next several years. I think if they really wanted to take a swing, maybe they go in on Chychrun because they know that they have the next couple of years locked up there. They have a good farm system, so maybe you can afford to move some pieces around there. But I'm just thinking, if you want to go Jacob Chychrun and Moritz Seider as your top 2 defensemen and go run that back for the playoffs next year, it's a pretty solid core to build around.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree.
And I'm not saying that the Red Wings should go all in and go swing for Chychrun or anything like that. But some sort of a move that shows like, hey, we're still in this thing. We're building for this year, but we're building for next year too. And that we're not just getting somebody as a rental for this year alone, but for several years. That's the type of move that if I'm a Wings fan that I would want the team to make.
And that'd be the only thing I could see. Like Chychrun would make sense. I could see that because he could be a long-term piece for them, and that would be
Right.
huge. I mean, that'd probably be the only scenario where I say buy, but what do they got to give up to get him?
Chikrin Cider would rock. Yeah, it would. That'd be
nuts. That's the closest thing they're getting to, Lidstrom and Cronwall.
Yeah,
right.
Which, oh my goodness, was that a fun pairing to watch?
Exactly. So maybe they throw us for a loop. Maybe they make something work.
And the last team we have for you, the Calgary Flames. Should they buy, sell, or hold? If the playoffs started today, the Calgary Flames are out. They are 2 points back of the Minnesota Wild for the second wild card spot. But again, the Pacific Division, as we've seen all year, is really up for grabs, even more than we thought it was at the start of the season. The top 3 teams are all separated by 2 points. Wild Talk chiming in here and saying buy for Calgary. In fact, going so far as to say please buy.
I mean,
they have a little bit of room to play with in terms of their cap situation,
right.
But especially after you make the trade, sending out Tkachuk, bringing in Huberdeau, bringing in Mackenzie Weegar, it looked at the time like it was you might have lost that trade, and as time goes on, it looks even more like wow, they really messed that one up and letting Johnny Gaudreau walk.
Yep. Well, you lose Johnny Gaudreau and then you trade Matthew Tkachuk. Like that's
a lot of your offense gone.
Yeah, and I mean Johnny Gaudreau.
You try and retool that with Huberdeau and Kadri. That has not worked out well for them at all.
No,
Markstrom is falling apart.
Yeah,
not playing well. That's the big killer.
So is he just a flash in the pan, right? Like, well, it's
I don't quite think that was the case. I do not understand what is going on with Markstrom and with the Flames. I just don't. It doesn't make sense. We've seen how talented Markstrom can be. We've seen, is their defense good? Yes. Is it great? No. Do they give up a decent amount of high danger opportunities? Yes. They do have, I should throw this out there, a very, very good goaltender who is ready to take over for Markstrom in about 2 years here with Calgary's AHL team right now, and Dustin Wolf. One of the top 5 goalies in the AHL right now. We've been talking him up on beauties for weeks. Wild Talk saying, I just want someone to take the reins and grab that second wild card spot. Yeah. And I think whatever team makes the move, that's going to be who does it. It's just a matter of is that the fit?
Yeah, I personally don't think they do anything. They did their thing in the offseason, and at this point, if you're selling after making that massive move in the offseason, that's not a good look to your fans, and now you just look like you're just treading water and you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, and treading water doesn't get you anywhere either.
Unless you're in a pond.
This guy. Always with the jokes.
I am the comedian.
Let's get to Wednesday night picks. By the way, I'm saying buy for Calgary.
I
think that's where you were going to.
It's like a combo of hold and buy. I don't see them making a splash
I see them as more likely to be a buyer than Detroit.
Oh yeah, are the Flames getting Chychrun or Meyer? No, but
I think we kind of the way that ended up working was most likely to sell to most likely to buy.
Hold
I
on,
didn't plan it that way.
I got a toasty take.
Oh, here we go.
Brock Besser.
Toasty. Oh goodness, Besser to Calgary would melt down both fan bases. Oh, that would get people mad. That would get them mad. That would get the people who want to bring Besser to Minnesota mad.
Are you saying the Flames would melt the ice in Vancouver? Let's move on.
Calgary Flames can't melt steel beams. Moving on. Wednesday night picks. Last week we each went 2-4 on the week, but I can take great pride in the fact that once again, the Arizona Coyotes doing it for the bit pays off. I got that one right. I'll take it. Season numbers still a little rough, but Joel 74 and 62. I'm at a nice 69 and 67 record.
Nice.
Let's move into these picks. The Winnipeg Jets plus 110 at the New York Islanders minus 130. Joel, who you got?
I have been looking at this game since I was on the bus ride home today because this is probably the hardest one.
Of the 3 tomorrow, yes.
Yes, because Winnipeg, and you and I were talking about this earlier in the day today, just in a group chat. Winnipeg is sneaky, but they're really not because they're only 1 point out of the top seed in the Central.
Yeah, you posted something about a dark horse team, a dark horse playoff team, and I took that to mean dark horse team to like go on a run.
I could see,
and you were looking for dark horse team to make the playoffs. So
exactly.
Yeah, that was the confusion there. But clearing the air on that, I think Winnipeg has what it takes, and if they're buyers as well, and they could make a move, that's a team that is already built for a good run. They are physically very tough to play against.
Their move would have probably been Jonathan Taves.
Maybe.
There was a lot of...
There was some steam there.
There was definitely some smoke. But obviously that would have, he would have had to stay healthy. But yeah, I mean, they're a gritty team. And also they spread out their points.
Yes. Very balanced team.
Yeah, like Scheifele with 52 points, and that's best for 4th on the team. PLB, Pierre-Luc Dubois, with 55 points in 2nd place, 58 points with Josh Morrissey, and then Kyle Connor at the top with 65 points. They spread it out a little bit, and then you got Cole Perfetti in there with 30, Blake Wheeler with 42.
Perfetti is so good.
Oh, I know. They spread the love, and they're deep, they're gritty. They have a perennial Vezina Trophy contender in Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, who's back in Vezina form again.
Exactly. And hell, when he's not playing, they got a pretty solid backup within David Riddick. That's a pretty solid backup.
The Vezina this year is going to Ullmark. You can book that one in now.
But for sure. But you can definitely say when they release the voting,
he'll be a finalist.
He'll absolutely be top 3. If not, if he barely misses top 3, he'll be 4th. So with all that said, the Islanders are also kind of starting to pick up the pace a little bit again.
Yeah, I'm going to put you full screen here for just a second. I took some FaceTime earlier. I'm going to give you full FaceTime here for a sec.
The Islanders are really starting to kick it back into gear, right? They made a trade. So that was kind of huge. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10. And who's at home again? This is in New York, right? So this is in New York. Whoa, that was a big noise. But so we're in New York, right? And the Islanders at home are 17-10 versus Winnipeg on the road is 15-13. So it's pretty evenly matched. With all of that said, it's not just for the money aspect. I am going to take the Jets on this one. I know normally. I was gonna say I know normally.
Trying to get it back.
It's hard to go, against the home team, especially the Islanders. But it's pretty even road and home records. I plus money too on the Jets, who are that damn good, but people just sleep on them. Obviously, I'm gonna go with the Jets.
I'm also gonna go with the Jets. I think getting them at plus money really was the kicker for me.
That's huge.
And Islanders, I do not know what to make of this Islanders team. They're starting to play a little better, 6-2-2 in their last 10, but they will come up with some of the most head-scratching losses that it's like, how in the world did this happen? How did you drop this game to this team? Ilya Sorokin, again, top 5 goaltender in the league right now. Very, very good. And numbers that can compete with your Hellebuck, with your Ullmark. He's having a much better season than Igor Shesterkin.
Bo Horvat was who I was thinking of. I was like, they made the first big splash. They got Bo Horvat. So, I mean.
Which, again, like trying to turn things around, trying to keep things moving in that direction, getting their score in Horvat. I still think Winnipeg is just the better team head to head. So I'm going to roll with Winnipeg on that one.
Yep.
Chicago Blackhawks plus 1.5 goals, plus 135 at Dallas Stars minus 1.5 goals, minus 155. Joel, I don't like making you have to pick this season when it comes to Chicago Blackhawks because I feel like it's like just kind of twisting the knife a little bit.
But I want the knife all the way in at this point.
I know you do because you want that to result in a first overall pick. Yeah, and I am the biggest Hawks fan on this show right now.
There's really not even much to talk about here. Like, yeah, we did mention the Hawks are playing better, and we'll put a big couple asterisks and a couple quotes on better.
Mm-hmm.
They're still tied. It's a 3-way tie right now, I think, for dead last in the league. It's between Anaheim, us, and Columbus. But I just, despite 4-5-1, you mentioned like we've won our last 2, but that's literally on the shoulders of Patrick Kane and a hurt Patrick Kane at that. Like Dallas is, we were just talking about the top seed in the Central, right? Who's the only team standing in Winnipeg's way? Dallas, because they're insanely damn good. And they can score on you.
They can. And Dallas, yes, they've been stumbling lately. 3-2-5 over their last 10 games.
That 5 is very odd.
Yeah, they are not a good overtime this year. They have just on the season 12 overtime losses, 9 of which are overtime proper. 3 of them are shootout. So you get them to 3-on-3, you've got a pretty good chance of taking that extra point. But they're still taking teams to overtime. To me, this screams type of game where Dallas rights the ship and gets back on track. This, to me, is the type of game where they just make an absolute statement that, yes, we are taking the Central Division this year. You might see this line move to Dallas minus 2.5. We've seen,
so grab it.
We saw against Toronto last week that the line had moved that far.
Yep.
For Dallas minus 1.5 because there just wasn't the betting action on it. It was still everybody taking. I can get them at only minus 1.5 and lock that up for sure. I'll do that. Or it was getting them at plus whatever. I'm in here on Dallas at minus 1.5, and then 2 teams that we've already talked about a little bit tonight. The Calgary Flames minus 1.5 goals at plus 135. At the Arizona Coyotes plus 1.5 goals at minus 155. Joel.
Do I do it? I think I got to do it. I got to right the ship. Coyotes for the bit. Not to mention the very middling Calgary Flames. We just talked about it. They're not necessarily killing teams when they're winning. What is their goal differential, actually? Let me double check that.
Calgary's or Arizona's?
Calgary's. Oh, yeah, Calgary's. No,
Calgary's is
plus 4.
So
it's, not much. And Calgary is home, right? Oh, no, Arizona is home.
Arizona's at home.
So on the road.
Mullet Arena, baby.
Yeah, on the road, 11-9-9 for the Calgary Flames. Arizona at home is 13-8. 13-8-2.
Yeah, they play well at home, and that's why we see
they defend ASU's campus.
On that
they're defending ASU's campus with pride, man. Coyotes for the bit. Give it to me this week. I didn't take it last week. That was a mistake. I'm going with it this week. However, if you ask me if I'm putting money on this game, absolutely not. I'm staying away from this game.
I so badly want to do Coyotes for the bit, but I'm going to end up going Calgary on this one. I don't know why. Last week I felt good about Coyotes for the bit. I do not feel as good about it this week. I'm going to go Calgary. But again, I don't feel great about it either. Because it would be nice to take Arizona. They have picked up points in 9 of their last 10 games. They're playing competitive hockey with a roster that really probably should not be playing competitive hockey. just top to bottom. So I take Calgary. I don't feel good about it. You're doing Coyotes for the bit.
Yep.
We're both taking Dallas. We're both taking Winnipeg. Maybe that's why I'm doing it, because we have to get one different this week.
Yeah.
It's boring taking chalk on all the same games.
Yeah.
Plus, I got to try and catch up and
I
get
hate
to where
agreeing with
you're
you.
at. It's not as fun content-wise when we're in total agreement, lockstep, every step of the way.
I agree. But now you're going to be in very hard disagreement with some sort of topic because segue.
2 minutes for roughing. I am terrible at, well,
Call of Duty? Yeah.
Yes.
Not really.
You know what? You just gave me the topic.
Oh, did I? All right. I'm interested
did.
now. All right. You ready?
Yeah, put that time on the clock for me, man.
And go.
So Call of Duty. Joel, you love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
We play together pretty regularly, not nearly as much as we used to, but
we need to change that. But anyway,
certainly do play quite a bit, and especially once hockey season ends, I'm sure that will pick up. I should say, Junior Cyclones hockey season, not NHL hockey season. But when it comes to the playing online, multiplayer modes, oh my goodness, people play the damn objective. It drives me absolutely nuts. Seeing people in a mode like domination or a mode like kill confirmed, who will just sit in the corner and wait and rack up a bunch of kills. And congrats, you have 100 kills in the course of the match, and you lost kill confirmed by 30 because you didn't move and do anything, and you just sat and waited the whole time. Trying to defuse the bomb, trying to control whatever battle point. Some of these kids too just need to touch grass. Like, you already have like all of these, and they made the ability to get camos so difficult on this version. Like it's difficult to even find what you need to do to unlock certain camos and to unlock attachments across whatever you're using. Like, it's tough. And it's honestly kind of fun that it's that challenge. It gets you doing different things and using different weapons than how you might normally play. But, like, please play the objective. If your job is to go sit on the hard point, go sit on the hard point. If your job is to go get tags, get tags. Nobody's paying attention to your kill-death ratio. All I care about is wins.
I honestly thought we were going to disagree on whatever you were going to say, but nope, I completely agree. But I think that's kind of just where we're at.
When we play Call of Duty, like, I know, like, my kill death ratio is going to suck, but we're going to win.
You're going to have 5 minutes on the hard point.
Oh yeah, because I think we calculated this at one point. The maximum amount of time that a single player could spend in the hard point, if they spend every second and rack up every point for their team, it would be 4 minutes, 10 seconds. My record for time in the hard point is 4:01.
Yep.
I don't know if I'll ever get it, but Joel was there when it happened. We were stunned that I got to 4 minutes, but that was how I play the game. Because I'm not the person.
Did well, like, you still got kills.
Yeah, I still got like 40 kills because everybody was coming up to the hard point, and
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just stupid, and some people are just like, oh, like go play team deathmatch if you're going to sit there and just try. And
get in a team deathmatch consistent lobby and just do that.
Plus, like, I don't want to hear like, you're streaming. That's adorable. Go play Warzone then. Yeah, that's where the streaming content is.
Yeah,
no one's going to pay to watch you camp in the middle of a hard point game in the corner, not touching the objective, because then it's just like, what are you doing? Like if you joined that game, the whole point is like, yeah, this is fun. Like, there's an objective and it adds a layer to the game, not just killing a bunch of players. Like, go play the game, play the objective,
play it the way it's supposed to.
Not to mention, if you were really that damn good with your camo grinding and stuff, you can grind camo, like whatever you need to do to unlock it. You can grind camos while also playing the objective. Oh, you gotta get mounted kills? go hang out by the hard point, near it, or in it.
Yeah.
Mount up and defend.
Yeah. Oh, it drives me nuts. We got to play again soon. I don't know when.
Yes, we do.
Maybe tomorrow night or maybe Thursday night, something. I don't know. We'll talk. We'll get the group back together. But that is it for tonight's episode of Pod Snipe Celly. Thank you to everybody who watched, everybody who commented throughout the show. We had a bunch of those, especially from Joey and from Minnesota Wild Talk. Thank you to all of you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow on Twitter at PodSnipeCelly, and on Facebook you can search the same name there. We will be back next week, which will be our last show ahead of the trade deadline. Still trying to figure out. We may have some live content day of trade deadline. Yep. So stay tuned for information on that. But that's it for tonight. We will see you next week. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy your night, everybody.
Flashbang through the door.